adds to the classic, jumbo Q is the XRP logo right down here. And so it just integrates beautifully with all the other information. The white hats have to have a plan for the financial system after we get rid of the Federal Reserve. And it appears that this is the plan. I mean, whatever the plan is, there's going to have to be a lot of technological development, a lot of planning. And, Ripple and Stellar are the only answers of what's already been planned. Like, they're not going to pull out a whole corporation and a whole technology that no one's ever heard of out of a black box. It's like these things already exist. People already identified that the leaders of these companies seem to be associated with white hats and seem to be a threat to the cabal. It's always funny to me. We've seen more articles of the leader of JP Morgan Chase, saying that crypto's bad. And it's just like, the more they say that, the more we know it's good.
Right. Yeah, it's if they tell you coffee's bad, coffee's good for you. If they tell you tea's good for you, tea's bad for you. It's always the opposite. If you always do the opposite of what mainstream tells you to do, you should be okay. Well, good afternoon, folks. And it is 17 after, actually. I just got done telling him today's the 14th day of October, right? And it's a glorious month. There's a lot of moving parts, man. There's a lot of stuff happening. But before we get going, folks, hit the pause button, go over to Rumble, subscribe as quickly as possible. I'm not going to tell you the same old broken record story about YouTube. You know how it is, what's going on. QFS1776.com, the holy grail of what's to come. It's all there, folks. Everything from Jassara Nassara, the lobster, the gold, the silver, all of it, the med beds, the quantum financial system, everything quantum. Okay. Also, don't forget the Telegram right down below. Come hang out in our room. It's free of charge. The Patriots will take you around and show you how to get your assets and get positioned for what's coming. It's actually happening right now. It's biblical. For the people who are paying attention, they know what's going on. Also, if you need to buy $10,000 of XRP or a lot more, or $10 million or $100 million or $500 million, I'm the guy that can make that happen for you. Okay. We got sources that will blow your mind. Okay. And also gold and silver. If you need gold and silver, yeah, we got the best company in the world that could supply with gold and silver. We actually send you the gold and the silver directly to your house at unbeatable prices. Okay. $7 billion over the last 30 years. That's a lot of money. This is literally a company that's got impeccable reputation. They got a AAA rating on the Better Business Bureau. Absolutely fantastic company. If you need that, send us an email, QFS1776@gmail.com. And my boy Tom will take care of you like that. Brother Dylan Monroe was with me about maybe 4 or 5 months ago. And we lost power the last time he came on, and we lost power again today. Something to do with him. I think he's got the power to take my power away. Okay, brother, what's been going on, man? I know you draw all these crazy maps, and you sort of connect the dots on a level that nobody knows how to. Welcome to the show, my man.
Thanks so much for having me back. Yeah, the war between the white hats and the deep state is definitely heating up, and I'm definitely a target. I mean, I don't think that whoever's targeting me has the power to shut off power in Costa Rica to prevent this interview from happening. But I can tell you that just yesterday, October 13th, I had my fifth Instagram account banned by Mr. Zuckerberg. My last couple of posts had to do with, of course, Kanye. And my very last post was the promo, the poster for Candace Owens' new documentary about BLM. So since we're on FluffTube, we probably shouldn't go into that too much, since that is a majorly hot topic. But, it really seems like they are in panic and desperation at this time. And I really think that Kanye and Candace are both two of the most important people in the MAGA movement, because, representing the Black community, but also speaking so much truth and breaking like the mind control that everyone should be supporting BLM. Everyone should be, Democrat if you're of a different ethnicity or if you're a immigrant. And so I love that we have people out there that are breaking that mold and, speaking the truth despite all the pressure on them, all the threats to their career, to speak lies. I even actually saw Candace a couple of months, or just about a month back, at what was called Freedom Fest in Kentucky. And in the speech that she gave, which was amazing, I repost the whole speech on my New Templars Rumble channel. She mentioned that after January 6th, she was threatened with her book deal, which was worth over $1 million, to denounce January 6th, or we're going to cancel your book deal. And she chose to cancel that book deal. So good move on her part. But it's really amazing what's going on the international scene between the death of the Queen, this situation heating up in Russia and Ukraine, and now President Trump taking down all the foliage around Mar-a-Lago. And some people are saying this is to give the cameras a better view of what's about to happen. So it's about to get crazy, but I'm still on the same program. You know, I have not made a change to the GESARA map since our last talk. You know, it's all still the plan. You know, maybe there have been some developments just confirming that this looks like the plan that's going forward. But we're going to talk about that and more. But I'm still 100% XRP, 100%. Well, I guess I can't be 100% both of them, but 100% XRP and XLM. I just bought what I thought was the bottom of XRP and XLM about around September 11th, when XLM was at 10 cents and XRP was at 33 cents. Bought some more. I was a little nervous around that time because some people were saying that around 9/11 this year was going to be, you know, some kind of a financial shutdown or something. And I had purchased those coins on Coinbase, and I was like waiting 6 days to get them off Coinbase. But I successfully got them off into a private wallet. So I'm still stacking, still totally believe in this GESARA plan.
Yeah, you know, listen, I've been doing interviews with people who are getting their debt forgiveness. I got 2 on standby. I got 3 underneath my belt right now. I got 2 on standby. Melanie from the great state of Maine. She's on a porch all the time, blonde braids. I don't know, you know, she's got a small channel, like 4,200 subs, but she's always talking about, she's a strong believer in GESARA and NESARA, and she got $100,000 debt forgiveness. She's coming on my show with documentation. I got a gentleman that called me yesterday. He doesn't want to be known who he is, at least not yet. He is one of our administrators in the Telegram group that will down below. You guys can join free of charge. And him and I got into a conversation yesterday. It lasted an hour and a half. And that was not a podcast. It was literally off the record. And they sent them a letter saying, hey, we're willing to give you back $8.91 for every dollar of interest that you paid into the bank.
There you go.
And he's got the documentation, and he's willing to come on camera. So we're getting ready to set that up. So please, 107, please don't tell people that there is no GESARA and NESARA. Now he's backpedaling. He's saying, oh, I was saying that there's no GESARA and NESARA of the deep state. Well, you know, a guy that's that smart, he just forgot to be thorough all of a sudden. Give me a break. You know, I was born at night, but not last night. You know what I mean?
I have yet to hear 107 even mention XRP. I mean, he always slips in a jab at Bitcoin, which I'm totally fine with. But as you may know, I actually met 107 at Reckoning Fest in Dallas and got what was an unexpected undercover interview with him, because I had asked him a question about a future map I might be working on, which is the white nobility map. And I set down my phone to record his response, to take some notes, and he went off on this hour, 20-minute long response that I wasn't planning for it to be an interview, but it ended up being, recorded. And so afterwards I was like, oh, I think a lot of people will be interested to hear this, because he mentioned some things that, a lot of people hadn't heard him talk about before. And actually it was actually before I started recording that we talked even a little bit more about my GESARA map, and didn't want to get into argument with him about it, but I basically said, I've already created, my most recent map is the GESARA map, and I'm not going to do like a whole retraction just because Juan said whatever, only buy gold and silver, because, I believe that gold and silver is also an awesome investment. But ultimately, the future is digital, and, it's like, we're not going to go from credit cards back to like gold and silver. We're going to go to digital currency and paying with QR codes, but it's going to be controlled by white hats and not the deep state.
Yeah.
And so I didn't want to get into a big beef with him, but I definitely got a very genuine vibe from him in person. He's definitely on Team MAGA. And that's kind of why I go to some of these events, is to really analyze people's energy in person. And he's definitely channeling some really deep wisdom and knows a lot about financial systems. He claims to have crashed the ruble around the time of the collapse of the Soviet Union. single-handedly, like through his genius, which I do think he is a genius in that he is involved in some serious science as well, material sciences and propulsion systems, which everyone's a little bit unclear as to what his actual career path has been. But it's something involving some serious military technology and, you know, high-level government consulting, currency manipulation. So he's definitely someone important. And I think I've had this grand vision of one day Trump bringing him out at a rally, and that being like this huge reveal of like the connection between Trump and someone who openly talks about Q. But you know, if Trump is possibly arrested before too many more rallies, I'm not sure if that vision is going to happen until 2023.
Right. Now, did you see this thing this morning? It's happening in Australia. Supposedly, somebody posted in my room. Banks in Australia are falling like dominoes right now. This is like hot off the press this morning. And
I have not heard of that yet.
I watched a little bit of it. I was trying to find it here to give the exact thumbnail, but it's in one of my two Telegram rooms. And the guy said there's going to be a ripple effect because Australia is not a third world country the last time we checked. And this is what's happening in Australia is going to ripple to other nations. And I believe he's right. What is your take on that?
That definitely could happen. I mean, we were expecting international banking collapse literally any day now. We already saw the pound collapsing severely. I think that was 2 weeks ago, which I'm not sure if it has rebounded yet. You know, they don't always get the news for the rebound, but even just seeing the pound collapse was a major Jassara signal. You know, the major Jassara signal that I'm waiting for in the US is the USD collapsing, which is going to be kind of a scary moment in our country, but it's going to be a necessary part because it's going to be the liquidity crisis that calls for XRP to step in and solve. And so we do have to expect all these fiat currencies to collapse in the Western countries that are still using them until the only other solution other than having them collapse would be, you know, switching directly to a asset-backed currency the way the ruble has already.
Right.
And again, you know, that the ruble's going asset-backed earlier in 2022 was one of the main reasons why I decided to make the Jassara map, because I saw this plan starting to unfold and was a little bit disappointed that I was an American and not a Russian, you know, being not on the cutting edge of what I saw as the Jassara plan unfurling. You know, but I do believe that America will catch up to Russia in the near future here, especially if Trump returns and once we restructure our financial system. And so, Mel, I did want to talk about that video you sent me. I'm not sure what his name was, but it was someone, I don't know if you've talked about it in the video already, but the guy who was talking about his friend in Jersey, who was a Wall Street person, who was telling him that he was a moneymaker and his company was having a meeting with Ripple.
Yes.
Which he wasn't sure what the meeting was about, but the only reason he has meetings with a company like that is because he works with the Treasury. And so this was suggesting that Ripple would be working with the Treasury to develop a CBDC.
Yeah. And
that is opposed to the Federal Reserve.
Yeah. And I don't need to take credit for this, but you've heard me say months and months ago, if not a year ago at least, where Ripple and XRP have already merged. And I said this yesterday to Texas Senate, and I'll use you and me again for that example because it's important. If you and I were the guys that went inside the garage and crunched some code, and we were the guys that created the most powerful monetary system known as XRP, which is like Bitcoin 5.0 on steroids, you think a government or governments are going to allow Dylan and Mel to run the whole world? Oh, yeah, no, you guys go right ahead. Don't worry about it. Hey, you got it. Are you crazy? Are you crazy? Look at this. I just found the thumbnail. I'm going to share my screen real quick. Ready? Boom. That's the thumbnail you need to look for. Reserve Bank of Australia. It just happened. It's done. Okay? So that's what I'm talking about. The news is everywhere. Okay? And obviously, we run channels that are news. There's news flowing in like 10 fire hoses every minute. It's unbelievable. So you didn't hear about this?
I did not hear about that yet today. Wow. No, the Australian banking crisis happening right now.
Yeah.
I could easily see that spreading to Five Eyes. I mean, Australia is even considered like a Northern Hemisphere country, even though it's completely on the Southern Hemisphere. But, you know, it's in line with Europe and North America, obviously, 100%. And so what happens there will be a trickle down effect. And, you know, as we know, it's also a former colony of England. And so it's very much still connected with the whole is one of the ones that was owned by the Queen. And so, we're expecting some changes in all those countries that were part of the Commonwealth since the Queen's death, including Canada, Australia, all these different little Virgin Islands. When you look at the map of everyone that was the Commonwealth of UK, it's just kind of shocking that they're all, connected with the monarchy there, when a lot of people just think that they don't really think that, they think we all have like our parliaments and congresses and, we're all part of like a democracy, but nope, it's still the Commonwealth.
So where do these central bank digital currencies come in if they're all failing left and right and they're falling like dominoes? How does the central bank digital currency even come into play? I know I've said from day one, and I think no one at this point is willing to argue with me. At some point, I do believe the XRP original army has no choice but to join this, narrative, because this narrative is the correct one, the one of Jassara and Asara. There are two players on the field. One's losing profusely, and the other one's winning by a score of 100,000 to nothing. The central bank digital currency that's attached to each country, representing that country's monetary system, yes, I believe that that's the one they're talking about, but not the central bank digital currency, the Jassara and Asara that 107 forgot to mention. Oh, by the way, the bad guys are calling theirs Jassara and Asara too, but that's not going to win. Okay, that's the one I think is going to fail. Are we in line?
Well, I know that every country is developing their CBDC. I have discovered since our last interview that you can actually buy digital yuan on a website already. It's available to anyone. So I even think that will be probably a good investment at this point. I'm more interested in getting some digital ruble, since we already know for sure that that's gold backed. But, something Juan has said that does make a lot of sense to me is that, DARPA is behind a lot of all of our digital infrastructure, as we know. They created ARPANET, that was the origin of the internet. And what's not public is that DARPA had anything to do with Bitcoin. But Juan is saying that DARPA and the CIA, with the most powerful computers at the military-industrial complex disposal, was really behind Bitcoin. And obviously, like, to mine Bitcoin, you needed that computing power. And so this was kind of like a free money grab machine for the CIA and for DARPA to just use their computing power to have the most Bitcoin of anyone. And obviously, since these are, clandestine organizations that's not publicly acknowledged, we just have Satoshi Nakamoto and a big mask of opacity across all the origin of Bitcoin. And so he doesn't talk about XRP, but I would be really interested to really know the real origin of Ripple and stuff, because, I don't think it's two guys in a garage, like you mentioned. I don't think hardly anything is someone in their garage, like the way the stories we get in the mainstream about how Apple was founded, about how Bill Gates became. I mean, Bill Gates is probably like a Rothschild or something like that. I'm not sure exactly, but there is never a guy in the garage. There's always a lot of research and technology and money behind these big companies that arise. But the thought with Ripple is that this is more on the white hat side of things, that the white hats have commandeered the leadership of the company, or didn't have to commandeer it, but they were always, or they elected to be white hats themselves, Brad Garlinghouse and such. And so that the Ripple is a white hat controlled company, and that, they have the best technology now. And so it's literally all these different governments kissing their ass trying to get their technology because it's the best.
Well put.
And so, yeah, you have the black hats like eating from the hand of the white hats. And if that's the situation, then the white hats obviously have the upper ground to dictate the direction and say, we're not going to turn off people's accounts because they won't get the what in the arm.
Right.
Or if they say the wrong thing on Facebook, that's going to go over like a lead balloon. And then, it won't matter how good the technology is because people believe that platform.
Right. Well, my friend Jim Moore, I know Jim for more than 20 years, probably 24, 25 years. Exactly. I don't remember. It's been a long time. And I know it's definitely more than 2 decades. And he calls me this morning because he knows that I teach Jassara and Asara. He's heard me say it many, many times, but he doesn't follow me because, like every American, like everybody in the world, they got their own lives. They got to try to stay above water, etc. And say they don't pay attention. But he knew that, I'm the guy that talks a lot about Jassara. He calls me, goes, "You're not going to believe this." A good friend of mine, high-ranking level CIA, calls me this morning. He goes, "Jim, did you hear about Jassara and Asara?" He said, "Yes," from my friend Mel, but he said, but I don't really know much about it. He goes, well, it's coming. He goes, it's here. It's coming. He goes, pay attention. It's going to be coming shortly. It's going to be everywhere. Okay. And so I'm going to call Jim, hopefully, and if I can get this high level ranking CIA guy, I don't care. Even if he's incognito and we have to disguise his voice, that's fine. But I would love for him to come on the show because that's powerful. You know what I mean? So everything we've been talking about is really coming to fruition, not to toot our own horn, but that's reality. So, I mean, where do we go from here? I mean, how much longer do you think this whole shit show is going to take? I mean, do you think it looks like, I mean, we've been here before, though. You know, we've been here where it looks like, you know, this thing's going to be, you know, wrapping up in 2-3 weeks and then we're back to square one again. You know, hopefully that doesn't happen again. Where do you see it going?
Well, I could see, you know, if POTUS is arrested, you know, that could cause like a serious black swan event, possibly civil unrest in the USA. And that could accelerate the plan if he was arrested and then maybe there was a counter move against Biden and then he's broke out of jail as the current acknowledged president. That could radically accelerate the plan. I could also see it being a little bit less dramatic, simply having a red wave in these midterms. And then, you know, just the traditional, as we always do, like the 4-year cycle, you know, more MAGA rallies up until 2024 and then another sweep in 2024. Of course, I do believe that this whole Biden admin was a white hat plan to show people. You can't tell people, you have to show people how bad this globalist Democrat agenda would have been. And even though it does seem like they're actually executing some of it with bringing in all these immigrants and sending all these arms to Ukraine, that a lot of it does seem to be theater. You know, that, you know, he's not sending MAGA or patriots or Anons to the FEMA camps. And, you know, that would be what would have happened if Hillary Clinton had gotten in 2016. But the whole timeline literally shifted in 2016. And so we're not seeing that. So, yeah, I could see this either getting very dramatic in the next few months and accelerating, or being a little bit less dramatic and, you know, the normal course of 4-year presidential election cycles and midterm cycles. Now, I mean, if the Democrats really, I don't know if we're on YouTube, I don't want to use the CHEAT word, but if they do that in the midterms and it goes blue again, it will be in a little bit of a pickle. And I think the White Hats may have to accelerate a different accelerated program. But I do think they're in control this whole time, and that they're really waiting for God's signal here, that there may be actually some kind of a divine intervention at some point that will be the sign that it's ready for things to move forward.
But, you know, there's a lot of people out there saying that the midterms might not happen. I'm almost in that camp. Not exactly, but they're losing so badly that they're so desperate that they're willing to try anything, even though they keep failing time after. I don't understand. They should just throw in the towel already. You know what I mean? Just throw it in. Forget about it, right? But they don't do it. They just keep going like an Energizer bunny. So I don't understand what that is all about. What kind of distraction do you think that they could pull off that they would be able to, you know, say, hey, you know, let's do X, Y, and Z? What, you know, could they plan another, you know, flag, you know, that FF starts with a, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think, you know, the idea that they would do something similar to George Floyd and cause civil unrest that way, I think has kind of been thrown off by all these bad press coming out about BLM, especially Candace Owens' documentary, which is why Candace and Kanye are so dangerous at the moment, that they've kind of taken away that card that the cabal could play of the race riot angle. I think if Mr. POTUS is arrested, then some MAGA factions will definitely organize some protests, and then they could pull another FFJ6 type style setup for those MAGA protesters. You know, bring in some 3-letter agency provocateurs into protests associated with the arrest of POTUS and make MAGA look bad again that way. But you know, in terms of canceling the midterms, I know Juan has said that, but I'm not seeing much yet that would signify to me that something that dramatic is going to happen. I mean, I'm not seeing a buildup in that way, at least in this country. You know, most people are still asleep completely. Right now, this weekend in Cincinnati, we're having something called Blink Festival, which is like all these lights downtown, all these projection mapping and light installations, art installations. And it's like everyone's out, no one's masked, everyone's having a good time. I was at Oktoberfest too a few weeks ago, and I mean, man, that the sports crowd is like they're just in it for the beer, and so these people they're not ready for like a huge shift in power or like civil war. It's like they're just ready to relax and have fun. They don't know about Jassara, but I'm sure they would appreciate it rolling out. And so, you know, I definitely see that as a possibility. The midterms get pushed back or canceled, but I'm not. It would have to be something that came up very quickly and had a very dramatic national effect for that to really happen.
Yeah. So, you know, look, at the end of the day, I don't know. This thing is so confusing, even though we live in the movie theater and we try to pay attention to as much as we can. It boggles the mind how many moving parts there is, you know. Hence the reason why XRP Army doesn't want to get in the movie theater. But, you know, you want to show some charts. You had asked me to give you permission to share the screen. So something new that maybe people need to know about. You got to see this guy. What he does is truly artwork. I mean, you want to buy the stuff and put it on your wall, not as wallpaper, but like as posters, because this is something that it's going to get people to say, "What is this?" And you need to watch this.
Definitely. Well, so I'll just do a little like review of this one. This was when we talked about last time, the Jassara map. Again, have not made any changes to this. It's still, in my opinion, this is a very accurate portrayal of what the plan is. Of course, some of this is speculative, but some of this is already in works. Everything from the articles of NESARA, which you can find online, which is the main part here, to the connection with all the Space Force infrastructure and Starlink, which is on the top. As well as the connection with all of the quantum computer development on the bottom. And this is all going to be kicked off with the crash, which is what sort of the lower right section is about here. ET assistance being a big part of this, ET technology, and XRP and XLM being actually part of a intergalactic payment system that we may actually be a part of in the near future. And then, of course, the ISO 20022 coins and their prospective association with metals. So we've already gone over that. I've done a couple solo videos explaining it, and we talked about in the last video, it hasn't changed. It's really only been more news articles confirming a lot of this coming out since our last conversation. And so I don't think we need to go into this too deeply. I will tell everyone, let me go back to full screen now. The development with this since we talked is I've spread out the product more. I have like this is one of the t-shirts we offer. QFS Jassara. We got the map and like the ISO coins on the back.
Nice.
Actually,
I got to get one of those.
I'll be happy to send you one. I got a couple different t-shirt designs for Jassara. The other new thing I've got is the sticker, which is it's a transparent sticker, so you can put it on a window or a black or white. It looks good on anything. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then the big development for me here is I've just actually got a new storage unit in my house here. I don't usually ship big posters myself, but I have just received my shipment of 500 of the Jassara posters. And so this is one of the bulk edition posters, which I'm actually still working to get it listed. But once they're listed, previously they've been made on demand, which is more expensive. I have to charge $40 for those. Once we list these bulk edition posters, we're going to reduce that price down to probably $28. I could be $25 if I'm feeling generous, but it's going to be good news to get the information out.
Yeah.
And so the other thing, so I haven't done any new maps since we talked, but I have been guided to further develop the original 17 web. I was actually told at Reckoning Fest, people wanted bigger font and the simplified version, which the simplified version, which is this one, I originally created as a flyer to hand out in the 2018 4th of July parade here in Cincinnati.
Nice.
And so this was the most important bullet points from the original diagram. I'll just pop this one, which a lot of people recognize. It was the most important points from that diagram condensed down to 5 inches.
Wow.
And so what I've done in the past month or so is take that 5-inch version and blow it up to 8.5 inches and offer it as a lamination, which is what this is. You see me hold it up. I'm not sure how big we are there, but it's essentially the 17 web boiled down to the most important information and even updated even more recently with some of my most recent research. I mean, it's not intended to have every information or every news story that's come out since the end of the Trump presidency, but we do have the C-19 on here. We have Space Force, so we have a few things that are sort of like later in the Trump presidency. And so, yeah, we're trying to get the word out. I've been really receiving guidance from my guides that even though this is, one of my older diagrams, that since a lot of people are waking up more recently, that, we need to bring people up to speed with some of the basic information. And so I recently did a video explaining we call this, the flyer was called the mini Q web, and the big one we call the jumbo, we're on YouTube, 17 web. Wow. And so we're selling this as the lamination for people. And it's also good for people with less than 20/20 vision. It's also a free download as well. So you can just download it and print it yourself if you want. Of course, we have the nice cardstock and the lamination, which saves you a little bit of trouble. And we're actually also, we offer our mini flyer, the 5-inch one, as a free download as well, which people can print and they have to cut it out themselves, which is kind of a pain in the butt. And to save you that trouble, we're actually offering the flyers themselves as something you can buy from our store as well. And so that'll be on my link in the description, and it's all available through the prints section of our store at DSMP.
Interesting. There's a very strong possibility, Dylan, that you and I may have come off the same assembly line, because when I put this when I put this thing together, I said to my wife, I'm going to go the opposite way of XRP Army. I says, I like this story. I learned a lot from them, which I did, and I'm very respectful to most of them. But I said, I'm going to tie this whole thing into Space Force 45, the 17th letter in the alphabet, the QFS, XRP, XLM, the Galactics, JSARA, NESARA, Starlink, the quantum computers in Spain, Reno, Nevada, and so on. And she said, you're crazy. I said, watch me. Okay. And sure enough, the story has resonated with so many people, tens of thousands at this point, all over the world. That's why I say you put the same thing together. We don't even know each other. We're born from two different mothers, where we're two brothers from two different mothers. And you're putting together pretty much the same dots as I have, except you've done it more, eloquently and put it together. I'm not a graphics guy. I'm not, that kind of, I'm a more of a mouthpiece than anything else. You know what I mean? So, but it definitely, Dylan is from the same factory as this dude, for sure. 100%.
Yeah, well, one of the other most recent adds to the classic, Jumbo Q is the XRP logo right down here. And so it just integrates beautifully with all the other information. The white hats have to have a plan for the financial system after we get rid of the Federal Reserve. And it appears that this is the plan. I mean, whatever the plan is, there's going to have to be a lot of technological development, a lot of planning. And, Ripple and Stellar are the only answers of what's already been planned. Like, they're not going to pull out a whole corporation and a whole technology that no one's ever heard of out of a black box. It's like these things already exist. People already identified that the leaders of these companies seem to be associated with white hats and seem to be a threat to the cabal. It's always funny to me. We've seen more articles of the leader of JP Morgan Chase, saying that crypto's bad. And it's just like, the more they say that, the more we know it's good.
Right. Yeah, it's if they tell you coffee's bad, coffee's good for you. If they tell you tea's good for you, tea's bad for you. It's always the opposite. If you always do the opposite of what mainstream tells you to do, you should be okay. But it's funny you say that. Now, in regards to a couple of days ago, what happened in Washington, D.C., this is late at night, okay? Listen, I've been around a couple of guns in my lifetime, okay? And that didn't sound like some steam pipes bursting. That sounded like gunfire to me. Did you hear it?
Well, I heard it. And even later in the video, I saw it when he got up to the FBI building. There was big white plumes of smoke coming off the roof after each big boom noise. And so the only thing that I can think that would be is destroying documentation, which is known to happen before something dramatic. Like, for example, we know that they were destroying documentation in Kiev before the first round of Russian airstrikes. Yeah. And so it would appear that DC is getting ready for possibly a change in ownership, shall we say. I mean, that's the only thing that I can speculate, because yeah, I would think that they're bringing up, big loads of files or even, computer files to the roof and boom, incinerating all of them. That's the only
Well,
thing
do
I
you
can
think that
imagine.
maybe part of the false flag could be that they might blow up the White House?
Um, I would be concerned being in either New York or DC at this time. That's what I said in my nuclear October video was I would have evacuated those cities by now, because with everything Putin's talking about and even what they're saying on Russian mainstream media, I played a clip from Russian 60 Minutes where Olga, this female badass like news anchor, was saying like Russia needs to preemptively nuke Kiev, DC, and London, because they're not going to stop until the Russian country falls, and the Russian country is not going to fall until there's a nuclear exchange. So why don't we just get this over with? Which, I don't necessarily agree with that, and I don't even believe that extraterrestrials would necessarily allow that. But as Juan has said, if a nuclear strike was launched at DC, that would trigger computers systems to scram and send a lot of data back to Cheyenne Mountain, which then it would be in white hat control, which, I wonder if there even is any data left that's not in white hat control, but maybe something unacknowledged special access projects that need to be reacquired by white hats that was hidden on some deep servers that Trump and the white hats didn't have access to during the 4 years, that it could be like the final piece of the puzzle that we need transferred. And then even if the nuke didn't land, they would have that data and it would be a win for the white hats. So that's a possibility. But I would not be in New York or DC at this time.
No, I feel very safe in Costa Rica, and our shelves are packed to the gills with food. I've never been to a store one time where I could honestly report one shelf, one being empty. Doesn't exist. We go to my wife is at the farmer's market right now. There's food galore, more than what we know what to do with. I don't think, see, at the end of the day, Costa Rica, Mexico is not the country that needs to fall to usher in, what they were trying to usher in, this new world order. It's going to be the United States. That's where all the stuff is happening. Right now, I think being out of the United States is a smart. Well, we're here for obvious reasons, but man, brother, I had fun. We got to do this again, probably maybe sooner rather than later. I think that things are heating up so fast at this point that it may preempt us to have a podcast probably in the next couple of weeks. So stay in touch with Amber. We're going to say goodbye to the crowd. I'm going to hold you over for a little bit because I got to figure out how to get one of those shirts. Because I got somebody coming this way. I got more than one person coming this way, and I want to definitely get one on order and get one down here. But you have to give me like a double X because I'm not. I don't look like the biker type. If I'm a biker type, I'm sort of like the Harley biker type. I'm big bone.
Oh no, we got you. Yeah, but for everyone else, it's the link in bio, and then we have the different categories: prints, posters, T-shirts, and this one is made on demand, so it can come in any size. So we got you.
Cool. Excellent. Guys, if you listen this far, things are heating up. Make sure you take our videos and sprinkle them out there because, the algorithms are doing what they're doing. And we definitely need Patriot power behind us. Otherwise, we don't pull this off. Thank you. You guys are the digital soldiers. We count on you. Thank you for everything you do. They do play a very important role in this fight, believe it. Thank you. Bye-bye.